You are at Lake Rant, where I rant about whatever my $15 a month plus patrons want me to rant about. You can get one of these by being one of those. This one's for None Your Fucking Business, who says, "Sup, cunt. Okay, please rant about a thing you said in an old arse NHK video about how the author of the light novel continued to be a NEET and bummed off the royalties. At the end of the video, you said how you were painfully reminded of your own poor lifestyle habits. Considering how despite the author's best efforts, he still hasn't made another success, and you yourself have extended your Hikkikomori anime blogging job as far as you possibly can, I see both of you older people as a frame of reference for the epilogue of NHK. I feel like I've started this epilogue chapter myself, going to school, getting a job and friends, but still feel like there's a Hikkikomori living inside of me, maintaining a morbid temptation to relapse back into a failed human and seeing how deep that rabbit hole goes. Do you believe there is any real escape, or will the majority of us carry this around for the rest of our lives, perhaps in ways we may not even understand? Also, try not to stress about the deadlines shit. Your state of upcoming videos sounds sick, and I can wait." Excellent. Well, this kind of, it makes me think about depression in general as it relates to these hikikomori tendencies. So, I've said before that, I used to be very depressed and anxious a lot. And I had at one point started seeing a psychologist and taking these pills that, as I've put it, caused me to stop caring. They did not cause me to, do the things that I wanted to do. They caused me to stop beating myself up over not doing things that I felt I had to do. And I also think about my brother Victor, who, after failing to find any pills that would work for him, just kind of realized that depression was just something he was going to live with and deal with. And that the thoughts that he had never really went away, those thoughts and feelings. But by putting himself into a situation where he wasn't thinking about them so much, where he's thinking about other things, he found a way to eventually be happy. And I've reached the point now where it's really hard for me to imagine going back to being a NEET, because I can't imagine me not being able to make money, the way I've run my career, I've been doing it for so long, and I understand so well where the money comes from and how to get it, how to basically do whatever I want and still be able to live a life in society, still be a part of society. And now that I have a fiance who I'm with all the time, who I've been with for, well over close to 2.5 years, we've been spending all of our time together, and it's I can't really imagine not spending that time with her, even though I know that none of the tendencies I used to have are gone at all. Nothing about the person who I was, who was a hikikomori at a time, is missing from me now. I still have the same general anxieties. They just don't come up that often because I don't care. I have no reason to be swallowed by those anxieties when I'm having a good time. I have no reason to worry about being somebody who doesn't want to work when I've learned how to work without it being a problem. I've learned how to live that same kind of lifestyle, but in a way where it's modified to work to my advantage. And maybe that's not so different from what happened to the NHK author. I mean, he himself, like I said, he basically remained a hikikomori and lived off of the royalties of his book for a while, not really doing anything else. And maybe I'm lucky to some extent that I don't have that kind of, royalties. I would love to be earning royalties off of things that I did. And to some extent I do, because I still make ad revenue off of old videos, but not to an extent where I could easily live off of it, And it's interesting to think that if I really felt I have enough money to take care of myself without doing anything, so I'm just going to not do anything, would that be the way I lived my life? I think I'd be too paranoid of what happens when when this book stops being so popular. Again, I don't know how much money he actually made, but I can't imagine myself being somebody who just, let's say, gets preposterously rich for some reason and then just fucks off, to do exclusively what I want. You never see me around anymore because I don't have to make public appearances. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's not about whether or not the hikikomori lives on inside you. It's about whether or not you're in a living situation where you feel like you're happier not being a hikikomori. Like, even if all those tendencies and all those feelings I have towards the world still exist, it doesn't mean that I'd rather be alone than with my fiance, or that I'd rather be broke than to be able to make money doing what I do. You know, ultimately, I think being a hikikomori, a big part of it is not thinking that there's a way out, not thinking that there's a better version of life that you could be living, and or being convinced that you could actually achieve that better version of life. But having achieved it myself, it's hard for me to imagine going back and being satisfied with the life I once had.